Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toffee Blues, and welcome to the Deadline Day live stream. I'm joined here today with Harry. I don't know, my brain's gone completely today, to be honest with you. How are you, mate?
Yeah, mate, I'm good. This is the biggest non-event in football these days, isn't it? Deadline day on the January transfer window. But for once, I guess as an Evertonian, we're keeping half an eye on a potential out and a potential in, which, given recent years, it's like Christmas Day, isn't it?
It's better than Christmas Day. It's better than Christmas Day. It's like a winning lottery ticket. Someone's just gone and gone, do you know what, mate? Do you see that empty crisp packet? I'll give you £20 million for it.
Do you know the thing is, Cal? Like for me, I'm just so shocked at who Dwight McNeil is potentially going to, because Crystal Palace have absolutely been a shining example of why clubs don't do business in the January transfer window based on kind of who they're spending money on. But I'm almost more surprised that Dwight McNeil isn't going to link up with Sean Dyche at Forest, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, until Palace somehow get relegated, knowing where their luck's going. But yeah, it's really strange, yeah, because I think I probably didn't expect this, because obviously it's come out a little bit in the last day or two, I'd say, that there's a chance he was going to go. But obviously with the Grealish injury and then with George, we are a little down on a winger. There is more than likely a chance someone can replace him in terms of Alcaraz or something. I was a little worried about that in terms of depth. But at the end of the day, as it's been said, 20 million's been put on the table for us. You can't turn that down for a player of McNeil's quality. It's one of those where not 100% sure. We've got people here in the chat saying, did they accept the bid? Has the bid's not been accepted? I think I saw something that it has, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So we'll keep going from the perspective of it's not being accepted. I'm not 100% sure, but I hope they accept it. I pray they accept it, because it'd be so silly not to accept it as well, because it's more than what we paid, is it not? Because if there were goals and assists in his add-ons, he's definitely not reached that.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're saying here is that even if it's a little bit less than what we'd have paid with those add-ons, I think at this point in his Everton career, you would definitely take that amount of money for him. I think he reeks of a player who is going to leave on a free unless we're certainly not giving him a new contract, put it that way. So I think 20 million for him right now, I mean, that just shows how crazy the January market is, because I don't think we'd have been getting 20 mil for him in the summer had we have got kind of ample coverage on both wings. But my question, Cal, given that we've got like half an hour left, and I mean, obviously they've got the bid sheet to go in and also the snail's pace in which Everton do transfers, is what happens if he stays now? And I'm not talking about what you're going to do on the stream, because I think we can all hazard a really strong guess at that. But like, what's going to happen for Dwight McNeil, a player who already looks massively down on his luck, bereft of confidence, and he's got to be a part of that squad then for the rest of the season? That's a worry for me, given what we're trying to do.
I'd say send him down to the 21s, but when he played for them, he lost them a game. So it's I don't hate Dwight McNeil as much as it seems. It's just the time's up, and it's gotten to a point where it's just I'm fed up at this point of it. You know what I mean? It's like, because someone said to me, like a friend said, "Oh, watch him go to Palace and smash it." Now he might.
Yeah,
he didn't smash it for us, so but I don't really care. And when he did, it was for like 2 months, and then everyone realised, oh, that and Die Fellow's miles better than him. And then ever since then,
yeah.
So yeah, I will be fuming if it don't go through, because it will just be typical Everton that £20 million has been put on the table. Obviously, it's a very late bid, so I get that. But it's like we've seen later bids go through when with a deal sheet and stuff, and we've seen much later, So it's one of those, isn't it? Someone's put his George in the door. I believe I saw something that he's just completed his medical.
Yeah, I was just having a little look at that as well on the various outlets we're monitoring here. There doesn't seem to be any communication that it's done, but then there equally doesn't seem to be any communication that it's in danger either.
I just saw a tweet. Wait a second. I'm making sure it's not from one of those sources before I say it. Because
Yeah.
that's what I hate about deadline day, man. You see all these blue ticks, and in the old days, that meant the old days. I mean, like 2 years ago, that'd mean all right, it's done. But
Nowadays, it's people that pay $6.99 for a monthly subscription.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I can imagine it will get done because he's had his medical today. There's no reason that he'd have failed it, you'd hope. And then, so I think it's one where it's going to be, who was it last window? We signed him on deadline day and it didn't come out until like 11 a.m. the next day.
Yeah, I mean, as we say, we 100% know the rate in which Everton do transfers, and what we're looking for is someone that's got a decent camera phone near Finch Farm right now or near Bramley Moor Dock.
You know, like the Asphalt coming soon.
Yeah. We just need an in the know to snap some sort of candid, but yeah, I mean, no sort of official word from any source yet. I mean, this is what we're sort of playing on, isn't it? I mean, El Bobble confirmed earlier that Nathan Patterson's going anywhere, so he's here for the. And by the way, can we just talk about Nathan Patterson a little bit, Cal? Because for me, when that was linked earlier that he might be going out the door, it really panicked me a little bit because, and whatever you think of Nathan Patterson, I think he's done relatively okay in the run that he's had recently. And if he can keep himself fit between now and the end of the season, then it's an option and it's better than what anything else we've got or are likely to bring in.
Yeah, it's better than nothing because he has shown that on occasions he can come in and do okay. If he's our first choice, not a chance, you know, he'd be the worst starting right back in the league by a considerable margin, I think.
Yeah.
But as an option, I don't think it's the end of the world. I think, of course, that was all dependent on if Norton Cuffy came in, then Patterson was potentially going to go the other way. But it looks like that's been rejected. And I can imagine that's something to do with the price. I know Inter apparently agreed 20 mil or something like that, which had 20 mil around. But yeah, it's one of those where it didn't happen. I think it's guaranteed to happen in the summer. I think it's one of those, isn't it, where there is a right back that's going to come in the summer.
Oh God, you would say that, right? I mean, you would say that has to be where they start in the summer, regardless of where we finish in the league table. Now, you know, he's going to need to go and get someone. I mean, there would still be a huge question mark on whether Seamus Coleman is still there in a playing capacity next season. And Nathan Patterson will go somewhere else in the summer, I would imagine, unless he has an absolute worldy run between now and the end of the season.
He has a worldy run, then sell him for more money than we would have got in the first place.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's the other way of looking at it, right?
Bobbles reported Tariq George has completed his Everton medical 45 minutes ago.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah, so that it's just the announcement will be. They'll be getting some nice fancy graphic together that takes 9 hours to make, so which, you know, fair play, but it's there's not. I do think it's strange that we haven't signed a right back. I think, considering, and then how quickly we went on to get a winger, I just feel I don't know. Like I haven't really. I know there's not been much in terms of the Premier League when it comes to transfers. But I just feel like there's no way on planet Earth there wasn't a single decent right back available for a decent fee. I struggle to believe it, to be honest. You know, I don't know if that's the negative part of me coming out now that, you know, Forest have signed that Nets guy who might not be an amazing left back. I hadn't seen much of him, but a left back that's playing for the Germany youth teams.
Yeah,
seems to be okay by the numbers for £2 million. You know?
Yeah. I think the general consensus is that, and we've sort of made a bit of a joke out of it, haven't we? But the general consensus is whatever that structure is that they built over the summer, and I'm not talking about the nice new stadium. I'm talking about the structure of the recruitment team that David Moyes has apparently put together, where it just seems like a massive chain of people that could turn down an opportunity for the club, kind of like several steps you have to pass through before you sign off on the transfer. And I'm not saying we should as a club go and throw loads of money in every position that we need to fill, because that's not what we've been through. That, right? We went through that when we first got kind of the Mashiri money and sort of buying 4 number 10s or whatever it was, and we don't want to be repeating that. We learn from history. But I agree with you. I was also super surprised with this transfer window, and I mentioned it a lot on the pod with Alex over the last few months, that you're in a situation here where there's a World Cup in the summer. There's got to be players sat on benches somewhere right now that need to be playing first team football. And I cannot understand for the life of me why, if you're an Everton where you've got domestic and European loan slots available, and also you've got a little bit of wiggle room financially, why you're not looking at those players and trying to bring some of them in. Because I think there's a relatively, and not to downplay the squad we've got, but I think there's a lot of players out there that are probably looking to move that would directly improve what David Moyes has got available to him.
Well, I think we've got comfortable the worst set of fullbacks in the league. Comfortably. Which, you know, maybe a bit of an over-exaggeration. I don't think it is. I've got no time for Mykolenko anymore. I can't wait for him to leave on a free. And then Patterson. O'Brien's decent, but he's already shown he's much better as a centre-back. I think Garner could do it. Well, no, I think Garner would be a decent right-back for the terms of he can cross a football, you know, which immediately then takes all the pressure off, I can assume, Dibley. Well, or George is going to be on the left and Die on the right. But it's just going to be the same situation if O'Brien plays right back, where it's just, okay, let's put 3 men on and Die, because he can't cross a football, so problem solved. I don't think he's bad for a centre-back, don't get me wrong, at crossing the ball, but at the end of the day, you want someone who can at least offer a little bit of danger, and it's like, you've seen it, I think Mykolenko's the key culprit of it, ironically, which is mental, saying the one on the other side was a 6'6" centre-back, in terms of the Leeds game specifically, when they had 3 men all run to tackle and Die, and they just left Mykolenko.
Yeah.
So I just think, don't get me wrong, I can understand why, because usually there is a higher bar in January that you have to spend, and there's usually not as much available. But sometimes I just feel like that's an easy excuse to give the club for just not looking.
For me, though, I think whether we're talking about January or whether we're talking about the summer, I think Everton have got to stop with the square pegs in round holes. I think David Moyes was incredibly fortuitous, and I don't want to do him a disservice, by the way. I'm firmly in the look at what he's done in a positive light still with David Moyes, but I think he did get quite fortuitous with how well Jake O'Brien did at right back at the back end of last season. I think he's been found out more in the first half of this season. And the thing is that you'll always be able to say, oh, well, he's not a right back. Like that's the get out of jail free card. I mean, the Mykolenko one on the other side of the pitch is much harder to defend because he is a left back by trade, supposedly. Whereas with Jake O'Brien, you do always get the sort of the get out of jail free of he's not a right back. And you'd have the same with James Garner. Like if you drop James Garner back there and he has a couple of good games and then he drops a stinker, you'd have the excuse, oh, well, he's not a right back. So for me, again, it's not going to be January because we're Tariq George and done pretty much, and assuming we're getting that one done. But in the summer, we can't be doing square pegs round holes. I am all for signing players that are versatile and that can play in a few different positions. We've seen this season with the number of injuries we've had, like that really works in David Moyes' favour because he likes to work with a leaner group of players. But there's versatile, and then there is like just playing players out of position to get by. And also just kind of off of the Brighton game at the weekend, I never want to see 4 centre-backs playing for Everton again. Like it, for me, no matter how good they might be on the right or on the left, I don't want to see it. I want us to go and buy some lean attacking fullbacks that can support, whether it's a Grealish, whether it's a Tariq George, whether it's a Dibbling, whether it's an Njai. Like we just need some support from those positions, and we've not had it in God knows how many years.
Yeah, we haven't had 2 good sets of fullbacks since Digne and Coleman. Or was Coleman a little past it at that point?
No, I think that was sort of. I think we got like maybe half a good season with both of them. But yeah, no, I would agree that there definitely hasn't been since then, right?
Yeah. Well, if you don't want to count that because it wasn't long enough, then it's Baines and Coleman. Was the last.
Cal, I was just going to say, Bob was just posted. Thank you to those that have posted that in the chat for us to have a little look. So as of a minute ago, Crystal Palace are in advanced talks with Everton for Dwight McNeil over a total deal worth in excess of £20 million.
In excess?
I'm guessing with add-ons, but like we joked about earlier, that means it's 20 million. But interesting though that this is progressing. I really expected it to kind of fall flat, to be perfectly honest with you, but it seems to be going ahead.
Yes. We are the greatest scammers of all time if this goes through. It's
yeah. Do you reckon they're holding off on the Tariq George thing to give him number 7? Like,
do you think?
I have a really weird feeling that that's what's going to happen.
There's a chance, yeah. Someone's put here, Steve's put here, just about Harry Wilson. Wilson wanted 125 because we were linked to him earlier in the day. Wilson wanted 125k a week. No one's paying Harry Wilson 125k a week unless he goes to Saudi. Then a new Forest maybe. They love paying some silly wages. Fulham wanted 15 mil this window. He's 29 this year. It's 15 mil for a 29-year-old. It's not that bad.
I also think the thing on the salary there, Steve, with the 125k a week is if he goes on a free in the summer, someone will pay him that because that's what happens when they leave on free agency.
Let me see if I can find out what he's on now. 1 second. He's apparently on 55 now. So I can see him going, I want close to double that. And if we paid him 80, 90k a week, is it that bad? Like, considering I think McNeil was on like 70.
Yeah. I think there is a really good point there that Steve also makes about the sort of we wouldn't have learned anything. And I think that is to be said, I think, but I don't know, that to use a Dychism, there's something to be said at the moment for having players in that squad that are Premier League ready. You know, we've seen David Moyes' approach with Adam Asnou, with Tyler Diblin. He although he's not as explicit when he says it in the same way Sean Dyche was, it's very clear that he doesn't like players that he can't trust with the Premier League matches. And that's all Everton have got to play this season. So I think Harry Wilson, no, in this window. I think for free agency in the summer, absolutely, because I'm so surprised we didn't do more with free agents in the summer window just gone.
I think it's a thing where, do you know what? If the McNeil deal was done yesterday, we might have signed him. Just because it's a thing like, where, in my opinion, it's 15 million quid. It's nothing in today's football, if we're being completely honest. It's what makes the O'Brien, the Ndai, the other deals that we've done around that look as good as they are, because it is. But Birmingham are paying that in League One for players. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, I guess, yeah.
So it's like, and with the Harry Wilson thing, I know a lot of people are a big fan of stats. Since his big season with Cardiff, where he got 10 goals and 9 assists, he's been 0.75, 0.41, 0.5, 0.5, 0.6 for goals and assists per game. So essentially, he's getting a goal or assist every other game.
Yeah.
For the past 4 or 5 years. There's been a few injury issues in there, don't get me wrong. But also, it's like, he started 21, played 23. Don't get me wrong, it's Everton. So there's an almost guaranteed chance his knee explodes as soon as he steps into the building. But the idea that he's not worth it to me is mental, considering there's all the numbers there to back up that whenever he plays, he contributes. Every number you could think of backs it up.
Yeah, and I think that he's in sort of a very rich vein of form as well, isn't he, for Fulham at the moment? And for me, I just think as impatient as we can be as a fan base, and I'm not just saying that's exclusive to Evertonians, by the way. I think it's a general problem with modern football, isn't it? But for me, again, the real lesson learned should be, okay, do we need to go and spend that money right now, or could we wait till the summer? And if you listen to what David Moyes has been saying since December, there feels like a confidence that provided you get everybody fully fit, and we know that Jack Grealish won't be part of that anymore, but provided we get everybody else fully fit, we've got a squad there that's good enough to kind of achieve what we want to achieve this season.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to have 1, 2, 3 additions into that mix that alleviate the stress when we do get injuries and suspensions. But we have just come out of probably one of our worst runs when it comes to injuries in terms of number of senior players out. And I think, given all things considered, we've done okay. Like, could have done better, but we've done okay. So again, yeah, I don't think 15 million is anything in modern football, Cal. You're absolutely right. But it's sort of is there a need to spend it? If they've got a whiff that he'll come on a free in the summer, then why would you pay a penny for him now?
I hate to be that guy. There is 0 chance he comes in the summer. Because the difference is, with this as well, is then in the summer, a top 6 team or a Champions League team in France or something goes, if he wants to go abroad, obviously, goes, oh, he's free. Well, we need a backup right winger. Do you want to play Champions League games, mate? Do you want to play Europa League games? Oh, now, different story, obviously, if we sneak Conference League, which I don't think we will. I just think eventually the gaps at fullback are going to get exposed and it's going to lose us games. But it's not impossible. There's a sniff of a chance right now, don't get me wrong. If that happens and we get Europe and we can go, oh, by the way, mate, you can start in Europe, because we're not sure on side in Grealish now after his foot's been smashed to pieces. And unless City want to give us a bargain, we're not paying, which is what I think we should do, by the way. I love Grealish. But I genuinely think we should look at him now and go, oh, would you have accepted 25, 30 before? Yeah, drop that down by 10. Why? He's just come off injured and he's 30. You want to get him off the books. We're not desperate to sign him.
Well, I think a lot of the stuff with Grealish depends on his ability to take a pay cut as well, because there's no way that Everton.
Well, I think he'd have to third his wages at least.
Yeah.
I'd happily pay him 100. Don't get me wrong. Anything when you start getting to 120, 130, at that point, it's what are you showing me for that? Because obviously, I do think as well, some people have harped on his performance this season. I will say a lot of those more negative performance is because he has no support at all at left back. So how many times, if you're guaranteed to see him getting marked by 2 players at least 4 or 5 times a game. So, and then when it doesn't happen, ironically, the few games Mykolenko has been good, I'm pretty sure probably both the games Grealish gets 2 assists at the start. So the ones where he gets 2, I think it's back-to-back games, doesn't it? He gets 2 assists. And every other time he seems to, suddenly Mykolenko is actually playing competent football. So it's like, and it's, let's have a look at some other stuff here. What's happening with Asno? I believe Marseille put in a bid, but I think we've rejected it with a loan with an option to buy. I'd be shocked if that has been accepted. Because first of all, we don't hate Marseille around here. Second of all, he's our only other left back.
Yeah, I know that David Moyes doesn't rate him, but I was, again, this was another one I was a bit uneasy about. So there's a good point from Trevor in here in the chat about the squad being so thin that we shouldn't be selling anyone, and that is a really good point. I think it's that we know that in the summer when the window shut, we were 2 or 3 players short, and I think the idea that we're sort of potentially doing a 1 in 1 out today with McNeil and Tariq George coming in, but Adam Asney was the one for me. I think Dwight McNeil going and Tariq George coming in is fine for me as a like for like, but I absolutely didn't want Adam Asney going anywhere. And I know we're all, a lot of us, basing this on that very brief cameo in the cup game, but I think there is a player there. And I think if Mykolenko were to get injured, I would much rather see Adam Asney get a run rather than Jared Branswaite have to play at left back.
He's had half a season in La Liga too, where he was playing like one of the better left backs in the league. I know some people will go, well, it's the Spanish league. Yeah, mate, how many times Spanish league teams paggering English teams in the Champions League? Obviously it's Barca, Real Madrid and stuff, but it's like, it is proof that there's something there. You know what I mean? And I tell you right now, he's not a worse footballer than Mykolenko.
No, and speaking about other players, Cal, that I'm glad we're not seeing the back of, particularly in this window. And it was mentioned in the chat earlier as well from Adam. Said, is Betto staying then? And the answer to that is yes. And also the answer to that is, from my perspective, is good. Because I think that whether you think he's this workhorse, doesn't score enough goals, you know, whether his head had been turned by these links to Italy. I mean, this was the same story we had 12 months ago, by the way, Cal, where he was supposedly at an airport in Torino looking to do a loan move there. So I'm definitely glad that Betto's staying, particularly off the back of the goal against Brighton. You can see when
he's a decent bench striker. It's his best role. Come on, cause havoc in the last 10 minutes or so. It's his best role, and he proves it. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't like the fella. I don't think he's I don't like the fella. I don't think he's a good enough footballer necessarily. But look at the options we had, man. En-Nesyri, no, not a chance. I'm basing this off one game of football. Don't get me wrong, but he made Betto look like Pele in that AFCON final. I'm sorry, but it's like no, not at all. Adam here as well put, we really need a right back. Seen something about Genoa wanting Patterson. So they wanted him if Norton Cuffy left, which was the right back we were linked with. But I'm guessing they wanted too much because they were getting 20 mil apparently from Inter. And I'm guessing there's a chance we've just turned and gone way too unproven to be paying 20 mil for, which he is. He's been doing okay for Genoa, and he's young. So you know what I mean? So it's like, it's one of those where it'd have been silly to pay that much for him, to be honest with you. Very much could have become another Patterson situation. So it's one where I'm glad in it. Then he put glad Pat staying. He seems up for it this season. I'd give him a good run of games if he's not injured. I mean, I'm not a big fan of him at all, but Villa game he played well. Leeds he didn't play bad. Played okay. I think a lot of his bad against Leeds was, I'm going to be completely honest, all on Tarkowski. On Tarkowski.
We need to be aware of who. We need to be aware sometimes that these players that look like they're getting caught out. Sometimes there are other players they're covering for as well. I mean, was it the Leeds one as well?
Yeah.
Patterson, at first glance, he looks at fault for it, and then it's because Dwight McNeil's like crawling back to the goal line. There's
the one where someone gets through and he slides in to block it, which is Tarkowski not being in position. Which wasn't Tarkowski's fault, by the way. It was some silly attempt at a high line mixed with a mid block, and then realizing, a 32-year-old centre back's not that quick anymore. You know, I think Tarkowski's finding like a middle area because he's one of those where, do you know what? He isn't as slow as I make him out. He's really slow to get to top speed. So it's like he needs a few seconds for his legs to warm up when he gets going. But it's like,
I mean, he's one of those players, isn't he? With Tarkowski, again, another one that I'd have talked about a lot on the pod this season with Alex, is that, you know, ideally when everyone's fully fit and everyone's fully up to speed, you'd hope the vision for that club is for Branthwaite and O'Brien to be the centre back pairing going forward. Season. But I think you've got an old school manager there that sees that, like, he likes an old school leader in his dressing room and in his starting 11, doesn't he? And I think for as long as Tarkowski doesn't completely cack the bed, I don't think he is going to get dropped anytime soon. And you know, you can slow down. There's a difference, isn't there, between slowing down and being completely like.
His instincts are still good. Like all his centre back, his positioning's not bad. I give him a lot of crap, but I feel like that's because it is my fault because he throws himself in front of the ball and it makes it look worse than it actually is after a few rewatches. So in the heat of the moment, I'm fuming, and then it'll reset after I've watched it a few times. But I don't think it's anything on Tarkowski. I just think O'Brien's played really well when he's played at centre-back. I think Branthwaite's good enough to start for England when he's playing at his best. So it's just that simple, really.
We got a bit more breaking news here, Cal, as the window's shut now. We're a minute past 7 here in the UK. El Bobble has tweeted as of 10 seconds ago that a deal sheet has been submitted for Dwight McNeil. So they can now kind of go through the whole process, and provided he passes his medical and provided that they agree personal terms, then that deal will still go through. So, fingers crossed.
Well, if he does leave, I wish the best for him. But I used to pray for times like this. So it's like I said, it's the best for all parties, isn't it? Especially when you're getting £20 million. And hopefully that can go towards something in the summer because, we bought and die for less than that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something to be said there. You said about the best for all parties. And I think that is absolutely true. You also mentioned earlier on in the live stream today about, he's just a player who he might go and smash it at another club. And
he fits that Palace system so much better as well. Because, sorry to interrupt, you're playing one of those 2-10s, gets to operate in a half space. He'll probably get to play on his stronger left foot. He'll get more of a creative presence in the team. Strand Larsen, I take the mick, he's not a bad striker. Wolves just can't create chances. Palace will create more chances. I was saying that I haven't really for Mateta this season. I've that until he threw a tantrum. So, well, I do also think, I know some people don't care for XG. I think Mateta's really underperforming it. I think he's got 5 goals and it's saying he should have 9. Yeah. So, Strand Larsen's really good in link up as well. That's the one credit I'll give him. He's really good at taking the ball down and flicking it on, which I think McNeil will like. They cross the ball a lot more as well, which is one of his strongest suits. We just don't cross the ball. So it's like, even though we've got one of the best aerial threats in the league up front. So it's one of those, isn't it, where he'll do okay. He's a Premier League level. Is he worth £20 million? No, it's all English tax and stuff, isn't it? But he is a Premier League level footballer. I have my joke and I take the mick, but he's a Premier League level footballer. And you know what? It's all worth it if he has a good run and helps Palace out of whatever's going on right now. Because, he's an okay Premier League footballer. It's just, I think our wingers are a bit better than okay now.
Yeah, and I think it's about us progressing. I do think, something I've thought a lot on the last few weeks when we've been looking at like how frustrating the Premier League is for Everton this season in terms of like the fan base wanting more, like wanting Everton to push on and like you said earlier, try and like clinch one of those European places. But when you look at where we've been over the last few years, the thing that's really kind of stuck in my head is like Jordan Pickford aside, like how many players for Everton, certainly outfield players in the last few seasons, have actually looked decent. And I know obviously Njai's looked good. There have been some moments for some players, but my point I'm trying to get to is that there's a lot of sort of like Frankenstein's monster still in that squad where a manager's come in for a year and a half, brought a player in, played a system, that manager goes, the next manager came in, did the same thing, sort of scrapping down the bottom end of the table. And for a player like a Dwight McNeil, where like you said, he's better with his crossing, he sort of is more of a creative, like if he's got the confidence there, he's more of a creative midfielder. And we've not been able to play to those kind of strengths for players in the last few years, either because the system it's been coached out of them under like the previous manager, or confidence just hasn't been there. So the best for both parties thing, 100% agree. He needs a fresh start. Our wingers, like you said, are better than him right now, and you wish him the best. But I do think there is a moment of reflection here for us as Evertonians to look at it and say, because of how grim the last few years have been, you could have had far better footballers fall foul to this kind of managerial roundabout that we had going on at the football club, Yeah,
100%. It's at the end of the day, it is what it is. We got a really good deal. Palace, if I'm being objective about it, Palace fans are fuming about it as well. But at the end of the day, it's a good deal for all parties in terms of good deal for Dwight McNeil.
Yeah.
Because if they're going to spend 20 mil on him, clearly they have some faith he could do something for him. So, yeah, we are at the end of the deadline now. So it looks like Tariq George will be the only incoming with Dwight McNeil, the only outgoing. I know a few players like Martin Sheriff have gone out on loan. Reece Welch is apparently going on loan to Hibs. Not sure if that's been done.
Also, Jack Patterson as well from the under-21s has gone to a Polish side for the rest of the season.
Oh, yeah. LKS Lodz 5 minutes ago until the end of the... Hopefully he does well. I think it's interesting because I think the big interesting thing for me is Harrison Armstrong staying. And I think this will probably be one of the last topics we talk about unless something pops up out of nowhere. because George is done, so it's just waiting for it to be announced now by the looks of it. McNeil is done, looks like it.
Should also just jump in there, Cal, to say, according to Paul Joyce, that that deal for Dwight McNeil is a loan with an obligation to buy. So that's why I think it's 20 million plus add-ons, because it will be the loan fee as well.
So if they're paying all his wages and then paying 20 mil, perfect. Good for us. Means the money comes in the summer as well. 20 million extra in the summer. I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I think that makes the most sense because it was the quickest thing to get done. And then Scarpups here has put, I assume Armstrong is staying because McNeil is going out. I pray that doesn't mean he plays him on the wing again, man. Just don't. It feels so Tom Davies. Where it's just figure it out, mate. You're a young player with potential. Yeah, obviously, I don't think Moyes is that stupid.
No, I agree.
It's a one-game thing.
Yeah.
But it's the scars in my head that are like, don't do it to him. Because I look at Armstrong and I'm like, this is the one. This is the best since Rooney, and I mean that wholeheartedly. I think he's going to be better than Barkley was quite easily. I think he will make England squads. I'm not going to say he's going to play for England. I think he will. He's, because he's gone down to Derby and been one of the best defensive midfielders in the league, in the Championship. His first loan spell out. He's not really played defensive midfield before. He's gone to Preston, played as one of the, maybe not the best, but a very high level midfielder in that league in a 3-5-2, a system he's never played before. He's coming to Everton in the Premier League. Rarely ever played any Premier League minutes. Hasn't blown anyone's socks off, but he's composed on the ball. He can find a pass. He's comfortable with his dribbling, and he can win a tackle. So he can do everything you'd want him to do if he's coming on in the last 15, 20 minutes of games. So it's one of those where I have all the faith in the world for him, and I hope it means he's getting consistent minutes.
But that was the thing I was going to say, because for me, just something I remember talking to a Preston fan about this for the channel earlier on in the window, and they're gutted, by the way, that he's not coming back.
When did he come back? Let me make sure I've got my things right here before to make a point of how he came back. Start of January? Right at the start.
It was, I think, literally the 2nd of Jan, I think he was back as an Everton player.
January, Preston, who were a playoff team before January, nice 3-0 win against Sheffield Wednesday. I think the Toffee Blues could put a team together to beat Sheffield Wednesday right now. Big 2-0 win against Bristol, 4th of January. Since then, a loss to Wigan in the FA Cup, a 1-0 loss to Derby at home, 3-0 loss to Hull, who are very good, at home, and a 4-0 loss to Middlesbrough, and then a draw against Ipswich, which is good, to be fair. So clearly him going has heavily impacted them to the point where they can't buy a home win. And don't get me wrong, Hull are good, but Derby are turning it around, but should be getting something out of that. Wigan, come on. It's not 2008. And then Middlesbrough, good team. Ipswich, good team. So, but I do think it shows he's had a big impact on them. Losing him has been a huge loss for them. And then it's a situation of, it's like you mentioned, is he going to play enough? I do think so, because Moyes was very, I'll quickly just put this up on the screen. Deal sheet for George has been submitted. I hope we actually sign him now. If this falls through, it would be the most Everton thing ever.
We would jump back on another live stream, by the way, just to analyze
crying. You just get a 15-minute video of me crying because I'm so excited for Tariq George, and we'll speak about him a little bit after this, actually, before we end, since we haven't actually gone into much detail about him. But when it comes to Armstrong, I do think, because Moyes was like, oh, well, Preston could get promoted. I want to send him back to Preston. I like Preston. It was all he was saying the entire time for the first 2 weeks. And then since then, it's been like, no, he's staying. So clearly he's watched him and gone, no, I really like you, actually. And he must, because he's immediately gone, Tyler Dibbling, I hate you, mate. I hate your guts. I hate everything. I don't. David Moyes does. Hate everything about you. Just your name, how tall you are, the number on your back. I hate everything about you. I don't know what it is. David Moyes despises Tyler Dibbling to the point where he's gone, I don't trust this 19-year-old. He's too young. So I'm going to put this 18-year-old on the wing instead. I think he's 19 now, but so he clearly trusts Armstrong, which I think is a good sign for the rest of the season.
Oh, for sure. And I think the thing that was telling for me was, and I'm trying to get the order of events right here, but either way, the point is he started him against Brighton at the weekend. Yeah. And that, given now that the players are sort of like coming back from injury, you could have very easily seen him drop onto the bench as an indicator that he was going to be sent back. And obviously, yeah, you're right. I think there is a lot of pressure, though, on David Moyes now and that team, because it obviously now, if for whatever reason, they don't choose to play him in large spells or get him those minutes for the second half of the season, it's sort of first and foremost for us as Everton fans is it hampers the kid's development. And what you want to do now is really put trust in him, put faith in him. And if you get to the end of the season and you think, you know what, with who we're recruiting, with who we're bringing in, with who we've got to give minutes to, we'll loan him out next season. Maybe, if Preston do come up, let him have a Premier League season with a newly promoted side. But I mean, I think ultimately there is pressure now on David Moyes for the rest of this season to ensure, almost like a duty of care, to make sure that he gets the correct amount of minutes, that he still develops in that same way he would have done at Preston.
Yes, right. So before we end things off, let's actually speak about Tariq George a little bit. Paul Joyce has confirmed that the deal sheet has been submitted to complete his loan. There's no idea about what the fee is so far on the permanent, but they were asking for 22 from Fulham, so I can imagine between the 25 and 30 range is what the option's going to be, which from everything I've heard from Chelsea fans, I've seen so many Chelsea fans say they think he's better than Garnacho and Gittins and that he should have stayed. My friend who's a Chelsea fan thinks he should have stayed. Very versatile. There is a video from I forgot who they are, I think his name is Kai. I'm very sorry if I forgot it, who does like Everton tactic videos talking about George, which is very good. So he could probably explain that a lot better than me. But Lee Carsley really likes him. During his under-21s, he's played up front, played on the left, played on the right. Has got some pace. Really nice first touch, in my opinion. Creative threat. If you look at all his numbers, which are hard to find now since, but they all look pretty good. If I get his full season stats up here,
I was going to say his stats here. He's got 1 goal in the Champions League in 4 appearances. He's got two goals and 1 assist in 3 League Cup appearances, and he's played 4 appearances in the Premier League for an incredibly bloated Chelsea squad. So you would look at that and say, I'm not going to sit here and try and claim that I know a lot about him. I'm very excited to see what he looks like in an Everton shirt and an Everton side. And I think actually, I think this is the right sort of breath of fresh air. I think you're right in the comparison, though. It'll be really interesting to see, obviously, if they're pushing this hard for this kid, that he'll get some minutes with Grealish being injured. And then if you're Tyler Diblin, what are you thinking right now, really?
Well, if he's going to play, I can imagine it is confusing, but George probably showed a little bit more than Dibley. Does Diblin play for the under-21s?
He does. Yeah.
Does he start, though?
I think he's a bit of an in and out at the moment.
Yeah, because it'd be the Arsenal lad who's at Marseille now. I know George plays basically every game, and then because he gets played in every position by the looks of it, so it's like, it's a bit thingy. But in terms of his numbers, if you get his per 90 numbers up for the Champions League, because he hasn't played enough minutes in the Prem to get them, which is weird because he's only played 2 games in the Champions League as well. Which again, 2 games, passing numbers are really good. A chance he's created, back 2.3 per 90, which is probably more than what any of ours have got. He is really good. Scar up has put here, can Diblin really complain? He hasn't done anything in his appearances to earn a spot in the first team. I do agree in terms of before Grealish got injured, but Dwight McNeil existed in our squad and was getting bench minutes. And I think Diblin's already better than him, to be completely honest. Or for us was. That he changed. Yeah. Some fans may not agree, but if you rewatch that Leeds game towards the end or parts of it, he comes on and changes the game completely for us. Changes it completely. I'm not saying he turns into Messi or anything, but his dribbling presence changed it for us. Should have scored, don't get me wrong, but
yeah.
But with George, I think there's tons of potential. A lot of people are speaking highly of him. His chances created numbers are in the top 9% compared to other wingers. I don't know if FootMob do it, top 5 leagues like FB Ref used to, but here we go. It is peers in similar leagues, so a Premier League. So he's a good creative force, young, full of energy, as shown for under 21s, can score goals, can get assists. So I think it's a really good loan. And it's one of those where a young 19, 20-year-old English lad, we get him for 30 mil, and he even has a decent season. Dwight McNeil's just gone for 20.
Yeah.
What is a 21, 22-year-old George going to do if he gets 5 goals, 6, 7 assists? Decent season, decent contributions, 50 mil easily minimum. And you know what Chelsea are like for bringing back old players for a lot of money. Obviously, we don't want to be thinking like that. But I think in the position we're in right now, that's how you've got to think. So I think it's a really good deal. It is a deal sheet to finalise everything. I am optimistic it will be finalised. And somebody, a young English winger, would go for 60 mil easily. If he's elite, which he has the potential to be apparently, even more. So I think it's a positive on all sides. He's going to play. He can play all across the front line as well, which is really useful for us. And he's a hard worker. And yeah, I think it's another example, I think, of Chelsea just going, 100% profit. And we're going to take advantage of it, I feel.
Well, I think they need to. I'm not going to sit here and claim to be someone that understands the ins and outs of football finance, but the limited bit that I understand is that for them is the reason that they're not going bankrupt with the amount of money they're spending.
They'll just sell another hotel, mate. It's fine. They'll just sell another hotel to themselves, won't they? Or they'll sell a pay at Strasbourg for 900 million or something. You know what I mean? It's can do alt now, can't we? So I think it's a really good deal, though. I'm really excited to see more of him, and then be able to give a proper opinion after 2 or 3 games of seeing him. Well, not, you know what I mean? It takes a bit more than that, but to be able to form an opinion on the type of player he is. Because, for example, even though Barry wasn't scoring, I think you could see the positives in the first few games. And now the positives are really coming out in this good stretch of form. But I'm really excited. But before we end things off, again, I feel like we could have spoken a bit more on George, but I just think there's not enough. There's not enough to really give. There's not enough to really give right now. He has played limited football, and at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit and pretend I'm watching every England under 21s game, eyes glued to. I'm not. But there's plenty of things out there if you want to go look at. Plenty of interviews with coaches, plenty of interviews about how good of a player he is and the potential he has. And yeah, I mean, you can see it by the reaction of a lot of Chelsea fans, which I think is a good sign, because I think Chelsea, to be honest, have quite a high standard of what they want the players to be. A lot of it is comparing to the past. So I'm not saying this lad's going to be the next Robben or something, you know what I mean? I don't know why that's the first Chelsea player that came to my head, but or the next Hazard. But Garnacho, if they're saying he's better than him, I don't think Garnacho's a bad player. I don't think that Gittins is a bad player either. I think they're both very good players. So I
guess a good side-by-side, Cal, would be if you look at Palace fans right now reading Evertonian comments about 20 million for Dwight McNeil. Hilco's said on X that basically every comment he's been getting as a Palace fan is like, best of luck. We've had a load of money off you there. Like, Everton have got the better end of that deal. And then if you compare that to the Tariq George thing, where you think with Chelsea's wealth of riches, would you really miss a relatively unproven young player?
Obligation for George, according to BBC. Okay. I swear, if this is like 25 mil and we've just got 20 mil of an obligation from McNeil, we are the greatest football club of all time. We are swindlers. Go away, Brighton. We are the real deal makers now. It's just, hopefully something does come out about that. And yeah, I hope it's not like 40 mil. I hope it's not. Because it would be the most Everton thing for us to all get really excited. Obligation to buy for 50 mil.
I mean, it'll be yeah. You'd imagine. Look, don't be surprised to see it somewhere in the 30s again, based on everything that we've talked about on the stream this evening. But equally, you're absolutely right. If this is an obligation and you've somehow managed to get it in under
Well, they're
30,
asking for 22 from Fulham.
yeah.
Well, I can't. If it's an obligation, it has to be around that range, surely.
Yeah. If it's
If it was an
I imagine if it was an option, you'd increase it, wouldn't you?
yeah. Or maybe it's even 30. I'd be happy for 30. If McNeil's 20, happily pay 30.
Yeah.
Even if it's like 25 and it's 10 million add-ons, it's add-ons. It's like when people said Everton paid 40 mil for Dele Alli. No, we didn't.
Yeah.
I don't think we paid a penny in the end. So it's one of those, isn't it? But so at the end of the summer, we have a few loans that were mentioned. They've already lost mine. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Harrison Armstrong's come back. Dwight McNeil has left for a fee of 20 mil with a loan with an obligation to buy, and it looks like Tariq George has come in with a loan with an obligation to buy too. Hopefully the fee is around soon, but I think this is where we are going to have to end things off because I haven't eaten and I'm really hungry. But before we do end up, what would you rate this transfer window out of 10, Harry?
Oh, I mean, if you're going off of recent years, and this is what I said when I first started on the stream with you earlier, one in, one out compared to recent seasons, I'd sort of say it's probably like a C plus or a B minus if we were going on that kind of scale. I think exciting young English winger coming in a position that we desperately need, and we're bagging 20 million on a player that, as I said, I think everyone would have happily seen leave on a free. So I think 20 mil in the bank and a young lad coming in that's got great potential. Yeah, for me, it's around sort of a B plus, I reckon, or a B minus.
I'd say a B, yeah. I was a lot more negative on it before we started. But I think now that I've spoken about it, I've kind of mellowed out a little bit. And we've just got £20 million for Dwight McNeil in 2026. So it's that I can't explain how much that boosts it up because it is. For Everton, is essentially selling an empty crisp packet for £20 million. Not saying Dwight McNeil has that ability, but for what the 18-year-old kid was trusted over him, and he wasn't getting it, he wasn't happy here, and he was playing terrible football here. I do think he'll go on to do better at Palace, but for what he was to us, we've just sold what is essentially a fringe player for more than what we bought Iliman and Dye for.
Yeah.
And I think, obviously getting a Dye for that's a very rare occurrence to happen, but it's a great deal for us. Tariq George, hopefully, fingers crossed, it's between 25 and 30 mil. Great deal for us. I do think I have all the faith he's going to be a good player. So, yeah, I think a B's fair. I'd have probably gone much lower before we started this just because I think we desperately need to sign a full back. But I have some faith that for at least another 6 months that we can deputise a decent job there. And if George is as good as Chelsea fans say, then I'll see you all in an away trip to Kazakhstan next season. In that conference
great
league.
Way to end it, yeah.
But thank you for everyone that has been watching the live on YouTube and Twitter. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and or follow us on Twitter if you are on there. Thank you for coming on, Harry.
Yeah, no worries, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I'm going to go eat my food now. I hope everyone has a nice day and hopefully a better deadline day now that has come on. Thank you once again, everyone. Goodbye.